So let's taste the first wine. I don't believe in beating around the bush. I think we should all start tasting right away. This is a Xarel-lo. It's one of the component grapes of Cava, as I'm sure some of you are aware. And actually, I'm very excited about Xarel-lo. I just had a Xarel-lo from Field Recordings, which is another producer we're going to enjoy tonight. And I think that it is, and I've, in the past couple of years, had a number of them. I think it's having a sort of moment in terms of being vinified and bottled as its own variety. So for each of these wines, I have a blurb with whatever information I found about the production. So Gary, to your point, this is farmed organically / biodynamically, may or may not be certified. It's 100% varietal, ambient yeast fermentation, that means no added yeast, in stainless steel tank, brief aging with some batonnage, that's lees stirring, and then unfined and unfiltered. And I'd love to hear some impressions of this wine from you all.
I was just telling Annie, I was in Madrid.
Mm-hmm.
I went to a wine shop, and he really suggested a Xarel-lo.
Mm-hmm.
That's how he said it, Xarel-lo. And it's very similar. It's like it has like nice acidity,
Yeah.
some citrus, but the lees really gives it a really nice texture.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And it was like €15 for the bottle.
Yeah. This wine in particular, I think there's a really interesting interplay between the lees and the richness and also a sort of chalkiness. Yeah. So I love that because I like wines with some acidity, and it sounds like you do too. Yeah. But that lees just bumps it up and it gives it a little bit of substance, whereas it might be more ephemeral if it didn't have that.
It has a thick nose somehow. Mm-hmm.
A thick nose?
No, it's an odd term.
Yeah. I love hearing people use language that is, yes. I mean, I like, well, I mean, when you say a thick nose, I think there's a lot of cases in wine verbiage where we talk about tasting sensations or feeling flavors. And I think that, there are two components to one vocabulary. One is finding something that's meaningful for you, and then the other is communicating it to other people. So when you say that, that makes me think more about it. What could you be smelling? And there is this sort of, if I were trying to parse what you were saying, to me it sounds like there's sort of density to it, but it's not necessarily fruit-based. There's a richness to it. So I think it speaks to me when you say that. I live in Virginia. I know what you're saying.
So this sees no oak?
No oak. All stainless steel. Jeff, what do you think of the wine?
I like it. It's funny. When I first smelled it, it smelled like toasted oak, but it's leesy.
Yeah.
Leasiness, but I like the mouthfeel, the texture, it's very creamy.
Mm-hmm.
I'm picking up like ripe apples, like overripe apples.
Uh-huh. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I get, and it could be a function of the low. If there's, we'll talk about this too. There's a lot of most natural wines are made with minimal sulfur added, and so there's often like a component of aldehyde to the wine, which is like a bruised apple, ripe apple cider. This one is pretty clean to me, but there is like a sort of a cidery note, and I've gotten that in other Xarel-los before, and also occasionally Macabeo, depending on how it's vinified.